Another issue was that we wanted to do these tax reforms, import duty, flat tax, tax amnesty, and so on. But why don't I do it now? And why do I want to? I must have a manifesto. Otherwise, if I do everything now, if I could, what would I do when I come into office? I mean, how can you do everything now? Even President Mahama, former president, who was president, I'm only vice president, but he was president. Why didn't he do everything then? I mean, why is he coming back? He had full authority. I don't have full authority. The budget that has gone to Parliament, which has been passed, is not my budget. Is it my budget? It's not my budget. The budget goes in the name of the president. It doesn't go in the name of the vice president. But when you have to think about what new do you want to do, you come up with new ideas. And I've come up with new ideas, which I want to do when we come into office. Everyone who is running for office, whether you are Kamala Harris or you are Bawumia, you still have to think about what you have to do when you get into office. And this is why I'm presenting my new ideas as to what to do. Samson talked about the scholarship students and all of that. And I think this is a very, very important issue. There's nothing more heart-wrenching than taking a student abroad and not being able to take care of them in those circumstances. And I think that I believe, and this is what we are saying, that one needs to, first of all, harmonize these databases so that you have full visibility and transparency. And also, we have undertaken in the scholarships as they come, so that it's not new, because students have and parents have gotten in touch with me about the awards and the scholarships and so on. So we're talking with the Ministry of Finance and the Scholarship Secretariat. I think they were able to make some payments to some of the UK students and so on. But we will follow up on that because it's very urgent. Cocoa Board is on the verge of collapse. I'm not aware of that, but we'll look at that. To see how best if the design has to be looked at again to make sure it can be completed. We have to put everything on the table, but I will be minded more by the churches and the church leaders and the discussions that we should have with them on the way forward. But I think it's an important issue. Thank you.
The sports fraternities.
Yes, the pharmacists are my very good friends. But you're talking about 322 pharmaceutical doctors who are threatening to sue the Ministry of Health for their allowances. Again, I want to take this one up. This is the first time I'm hearing about this particular issue. I think it is Sheldon who raised it. I'm not aware of it, but I think it's an issue that we should really resolve. So we'll talk to the Ministry of Health and Finance. Thank you very much.
We'll take Kankambodu's question from the sports, I believe. Please go ahead.
Hello. Hello. Good evening, Mr. Vice President. Before I go to my question, I'd like to draw your attention to the sad issue of the national amputee team. They apparently won the African Amputee Championship. They are owed per diems and bonuses and have not been paid. And they feel very neglected. And we all know that the strength of every nation is determined by how well they treat the vulnerable in society. In your manifesto, you talk about building 6 new stadiums in the 6 new regions. Currently, we have 5 major national stadiums, and only one, that's the Kumasi Sports Stadium, is fit enough to host a FIFA or CAF organized senior national team game. So I want to know what motivated that decision. And since we are even struggling to maintain 5, how well can we do if we have 11? Thank you.
Thank you, Kankambodu. We'll do. So, give the microphone to Ahini, please. It's right there. Please give the microphone to her. From the Ashanti region.
Thank you. Good evening, Your Excellency. My name is Ohinini Adazwa, Sumpa TV, Sumpa Radio, Kumasi.
Ja, Rastafari.
Selassie, I. In your manifesto, page 24C, you did mention something about flat rate. So let's say somebody import car engines and somebody second-hand clothing. Are they going to pay the same amount? I think we need better and further particulars. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Ohini. So, that's Ohini.
Thank you, Your Excellency. My name is Dache Hene Nanayawa Sante from Onuya FM. Your Excellency, respectfully, there is a saying that we should cry our own cry. You made a promise to teachers that you give them the opportunity of having cars. We know our minimum wage and where it stands, and the tripartite committee view it to 18.44 cities. The standard of living in Ghana is going high. Your Excellency, what will you do for 90% of people who are seated here today to carry your message on? They are journalists. Thank you.
So what's your question? For what will you do for the journalist? Is that a question? Okay. Otek. Mr. Buesiako from Otek, Ashanti. Please let's hear Mr. Buesiako from Ashanti.
Yes. Your Excellency, I want to congratulate my MP, Honorable Dr. Opoke Prempeh. Honorable, Your Excellency, you highlighted 14 key promises in your manifesto. But none of them were apportioned timelines on it. So how can you hold you accountable if not? Because it seems to become mere political rhetorics. Thank you.
Okay, Ibrahim. Ibrahim from GH1.
Thank you very
Ibrahim,
much,
GH1.
Your Excellency. My name is Ibrahim Al Hassan, GH1 TV Star FM. Your Excellency, of course, forgive me for taking you back in 2016 when you were on the campaign trail. You had this declaration, and it's a very famous one. Parents are suffering, students are suffering, traders are suffering, pensioners are suffering, drivers are suffering, contractors are suffering, civil servants are suffering, farmers are suffering, fishermen are suffering, men are suffering, women are suffering, children are suffering, and Ghanaians as a whole are suffering. May I know the status of suffering of these individuals today?
I'll take Vanessa from Metro TV Accra, then I'll come to Adikakam. So please get a microphone to Andy, and then Vanessa would speak. And then I'll come to you later. But Vanessa, Andy, then.
Thank you. My name is Vanessa Idotumboateng from Metro TV. Mr. Vice President, you will remember this quote. If the fundamentals are weak, the exchange rate will expose you. And as I was making this statement, a dollar to CD was 3 cedis and above, or about 3 cedis. 4 cedis, right, thank you. 2024, a dollar to a cedi is 15 Ghana cedis, about 15 Ghana cedis. Okay, over 15 Ghana cedis, thank you. How do I explain this to my mother, a cocoa seller, that in 2014, the fundamentals were weak. In 2024, where a dollar is now 15 cedis, the fundamentals are not weak. But the prices of goods and services are high today. Thank you.
Okay. Please. No. Yes, let Abina come and then you come. I want to hear more of the ladies at
Mebacho FM Abna Pokua ahwene me wadum TV ene adum FM na masembisa yes ba ko kanka beka didi kan mebacho pese ye share Dr. Bawumia ne hihye fofra wode ebeko etia galamsey ayadia so man no kon ache eno achi so Afram Plains 2016 MPP share call for bo esemo de bridge ebeto afram nsu no so me pese me hu na ho hyehyɛ ya kodun kokos sports stadium so me pese me hu no ba bi atebia no ewo asatena medase.
Thank you. We'll take Nanaya, then His Excellency would give the responses. Please go ahead.
Good evening, His Excellency. I would like my question to be answered in Chi, but I'll ask it in English.
Please go ahead.
Okay, so I'll ask it in Chi. I just want to know, sir, in the first 100 days, if Ghanaians decide to vote for you, what would be the things you would want to tackle first?
Thank you. Let's take the responses and then we'll come back to the questions. Your Excellency.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think the first question is looking at the national amputee team who are owed some allowances. So I'll talk to the sports minister here to get the facts on the issue, and if that is the case, I will try to expedite their payment. So I'll when I leave here, I'm going to raise that issue. There is also the issue of 6 new stadia that, and only one of the existing 5 is being maintained? I think that is a very good question. One of the problems we have is the lack of maintenance of our pitches. I met with the Black Stars in Kumasi before their last game there, and when we met, the coach and the players were very clear that what they really needed, and this is why I've put it in our manifesto, was an international standard pitch. You know, that the pitches that we have are difficult to play on, and we needed international standard pitches. So, in fact, in the manifesto, we need to do it. And I believe that we need professional management in terms of the maintenance of these pitches. And we need to train people and also bring in the people with the knowledge. And so we are going to do that, because we just build the pitches and very little maintenance of the pitches and the management of the pitches. So I think this is going to be one of the things that we are going to do. The building of the 5 other stadia, as I said, you know, we've made that commitment actually as far back as 2019, that with all these new regions that are coming on board, we will have to build stadia for them to encourage sports. And I believe that we've done quite a few already in terms of the multi-purpose sports stadia. We are doing 10. We've completed 6. 4 are almost done. And we are going to do another 5. So, I mean, the record is there that we've done 10. I think that we can do another 5 without much of a problem. Then the question came on the flat rate and whether second-hand clothing and spare parts will be paying the same rate. No, I think that the categories will be different. And with the flat rate, what we want to do is to bring a lot more predictability in import duty payment. At the moment, there isn't predictability, and there's a lot of discretion that seems to come in from time to time. And so what we are saying is that we're going to bring in a flat rate in cities. So if you are bringing in spare parts, and there's a 40-foot container of spare parts, you will know exactly what the duty is for the spare parts. Say 20,000 cedis or 15,000 cedis or 30,000 cedis. It's a flat rate. So when the 40-foot container arrives of the spare parts, then you know you'll pay 40,000. If you are bringing in second-hand clothing, and that is attracting 20,000 cedis duty, you will know beforehand that it will come. It's not that it will arrive and then the price will change, because they will say the exchange rate has changed, so you pay more. But it will be a flat rate. So there's not going to be any confusion. Chicken will attract a different rate from, spare parts will attract a different rate from rice, will attract a different rate from second-hand clothing. But you will know beforehand, before the goods before you import the goods, they will all be published. And so that we get away from, these under-invoicing and misclassification issues. These are really hampering revenue collection. Many importers invest time in misclassifying. They'll bring in chicken and they'll say it is fish or something. But the misclassification and so on, we will have to deal with that. Then the issue about cars for teachers and what we want to do for journalists and all of that. I really believe that one of the major problems, and we address this in the manifesto, that hampers workers and livelihoods in our country is the fact that we operate a cash-based system. Unlike in the advanced world where they operate a credit-based system. So ab initio, life is much harder if you are a teacher, in Ghana versus if you're a teacher in the US or the UK. Even if you are paid the same amount every month, the teacher in the UK will consume probably 5 to 6 times more goods than you in Ghana. Why? Because they are able to obtain credit and pay over time. And so, but we in Ghana here, we have to accumulate cash for whatever we want to buy. If you want to buy a car and the car is costing 100,000 or 150,000, you have to look for 150,000 to pay for the car. But if you were in the UK, you'll probably be paying 1,000 every month to pay for the car, or much less. But so your salary goes along a much longer way. So one of the things that we are bringing in, as far as our manifesto is concerned, is to move Ghana from a cash-based system to a credit-based system. It's very, very important, because the reason why the credit-based system works in the advanced countries, because they are able to compute credit scores for everybody. You know, credit scoring is key to a credit-based system, because it then assesses the risk of any borrower in terms of borrowing money for a fridge or a car or a TV or whatever. So the credit scoring becomes very key. 14 years ago, I wrote a book on monetary policy and financial sector reform in Africa. This was in 2010. And in this book, I was making the case for why Ghana and Africa generally, we needed to move towards the credit-based systems. And the reason why is to really bring down the stress on living in our system. The reason why they are able to do what the credit system in the advanced countries is because the databases exist for the computation of the credit scores. So the unique, what you need, a unique identity that exists. Address, it exists. Financial inclusion, a bank account where it exists. So when we came into office, I was very clear in my mind where we wanted Ghana to go. We needed to put in place the digital address system, the Ghana card, which we have done. We needed to put in place the address system. When we looked at the address system, I realized that it was going to be very difficult to go with what we had before, street addresses and so on. So I proposed that we go with digital address systems. I mean, at the time, only one country in the world, Mongolia, had a digital address, a wholesale digital address system. Only one country in the world. But I said, look, Ghana should move in that direction because we can leverage on GPS technology and have a digital address system. Now, we have been able to get a digital address system, and we are the second country in the whole world to have a wholesale digital address system. Every part of Ghana, we can have a digital address. Now, then the third leg of this to allow us to get to credit scoring was to make sure most Ghanaians would have a bank account so that your financial transactions can be scored and monitored and so on. But when we came in, I realized that, of course, very small percentage of people had bank accounts, but a lot of people had mobile money accounts, and so I made the point that the key to get everybody financially included was to have that interoperability between the mobile money account and the bank account. And so we were able to do this mobile money interoperability. And so today, Ghana now has all the elements. All the elements are now in place for Ghana to move to a credit-based system. All the elements are now in place. And so we expect credit score. In fact, interestingly, when I made the point that individual credit scoring doesn't yet exist in Ghana, people were actually arguing, saying that that wasn't true, but that is absolutely true. So we are going to begin, proper wholesale individual credit scoring, which would then provide us a basis so that, people can buy their cars. And someone was talking about the local producers and all of that. Once they know that we can offer this to teachers and they can pay overtime, or to journalists and they can pay overtime, and they don't have to bring all the cash at once, then life will be much more bearable to all of us. So my expectation is that the credit scoring system, things are moving much faster than I expected. It's in our manifesto, we're moving to it, but I think that it's likely to begin before the end of this year because of where we are now. I expect to launch it reasonably soon because of where we are now. We've got everything in place but that will fundamentally change everything for Ghana. Currently in sub-Saharan Africa, it's only one country that has a credit scoring system and a credit base. That is South Africa. Ghana will be, before the end of this year, the second country in sub-Saharan Africa with a credit-based system. But it will bring down the pressure on all of our workers once you enter into that. Then there was a question that went on the lack of timelines for the manifesto in terms of promises and so on. I think that when you are going for an election, you are going for an election for a 4-year term initially, isn't it? Yeah, so your promises have to be in line with that term of office, right? That this is what I want you to elect me to do these things, right? But I think that we have a pretty good record in terms of honoring our promises. We've done some work to look at our 2016 manifesto, what proportion of those promises we've honored, and it has been 83% of the 2016 manifesto has been honored, 83%. And then when you look at the 2020 manifesto, 2020, even in the midst of all these crises, we are fulfilling, or we've fulfilled 80% of our 2020 manifesto. My opponent in his 2012 manifesto, when he became president, he only fulfilled 28%. We've done the numbers. 28% of his 2012 manifesto. 280 promises. He didn't fulfill 203 of the 280 promises. He only fulfilled 28% of his promises. So I think that we have a better record as far as fulfilling promises. And when I put something down, I usually have a good idea how I'm going to get it done. And so that is I think, something that we are going to look at. I think that the issue has come about suffering. And I remember very well, my statements. Teachers are suffering, and doctors are suffering, and journalists are suffering, and everybody is suffering. In 2016,